everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Starfish podcast, also known as DayGo. And if you've been following us, this is a platform where we discuss the realities of the youth and come up with solutions that can really solve the problems that we are facing as individuals in a community. And I'm your host for today. My name is Miss Mariama Dabo, and I'm excited to be back to discuss issues that are affecting our lives. And today we have two wonderful guests with me, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. You're welcome on the show.
Thank you very much, Mariama. I am Fatou Sedikan, and I'm from Lemon. I'm an activist, and also I have a modeling agency, so I'm the CEO of Pro Model. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Genar Yasin Jeng. I'm a legal practitioner, communication specialist, and feminist. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, welcome to the Starfish podcast. So today we are going to have an elevated conversation about the culture of rape in the Gambia. So we all know there have been a lot of cases of rape, not just in the courtrooms, but everywhere you go, in the communities, in our houses. And so it's just becoming too much. And I'm glad I have two young females who are activists as well as youth to come together and have a conversation about this topic and hopefully educate and uplift all our listeners out there. And so the first question I want to ask is a little bit about your personal experience. And I want to know, what are your connection with the topic of discussion?
Thank you again, Mariama. So the topic of discussion, I feel like connected to the topic of discussion because recently I had to deal with this kind of case, whereas the survivor is my own sister, and I have to go to the courthouse and have to deal with a lot of challenges and all that for the first time. So for me, I feel really connected to the case because knowing what has happened to my sister and all that, and every time when I look at my sister and see how scared she is and having the thought that she may even think of committing suicide, I think I feel connected to this topic, and for that I'm glad to be here anyways.
All right, thank you very much for coming and having the courage to talk about your sister as a survivor to the topic of discussion. Ms. Ngena, what is your connection to the discussion topic?
I think my connection is by the mere fact that I'm a woman. We know that rape affects women more. Women are at a higher risk of getting raped or abused. So just by the mere fact of being a woman, I am very connected to this issue. Also, as a feminist who's worked in the space for quite a while, I've had to deal with cases and the like. And as a legal practitioner as well, we go to court, we see cases like this all the time. So yeah.
All right, thank you. So another pillar of the Starfish podcast is really the reality of Gambian youth. And so that will bring me to the question of what is really the reality of rape in the Gambia. And for you, Ms. Sedikan, given the fact that you have experienced this situation through your sister, what was the reaction of your family and community to the topic?
So the reaction of my family and the community, I think, is the lack of support. So when it comes to our case, we lack the support of our family. At the beginning, we had to deal with them, and for that, we don't have to just only deal with the society, but we're dealing with our family, and that was not easy for us. But at the end of the day, at the end of the fight, they came over and support us. But in the beginning, we had to deal with them, and we even had to lose some of our families and friends during this time.
Right. So what were some of their concerns? Do they think it was true, or you were just making it up? What were some of the things they said?
So with my family, what they think is that this is going to save the family. We should not talk about it. We can forgive because we all live in the community. But with the society, the question they have is it really true? Is it true? I mean, is she lying? How can she say this? Who is your witness and all that? So those are the things we face when it comes to the society and when it comes to the family.
All right. Thank you. I think generally when people are faced with cases of rape, you know, they tend to feel like it's not really true, or that, you know, they ask questions that are usually blaming the survivor instead of the perpetrators. And so I understand where you're coming from when it comes to that. That will bring me to Ms. Ganar. What do you think is the reality of rape in the Gambia? I know there have been a lot of arguments and debates about if rape is really rising, or that if people are having more confidence to just talk about it. But what would you say is the reality of rape in the Gambia?
The reality for me is rape is rampant in the Gambia. Rape culture is rampant. Not just the act itself, but different behaviors that perpetuate or embolden people to engage in such behavior. And it's been around for quite a while. People use quite a lot of things to justify it. As we see, whenever there's a case, there's always going to be victim blaming and people saying, you know, all sorts of ridiculous things. Now it's more in your face because, you know, we have the internet, everyone's talking about it, and the Me Too movement has given a lot of people the courage to come out and say, this is what has happened to me, this is what is happening to me currently in my home or at school or wherever it is. So there's a higher likelihood of people talking about it or being able to put it out there for others to see. Notwithstanding, I think it's also good that we highlight that even though there's a rise in people talking about rape and, you know, facing some of these kinds of trauma, there's still a lot of people that are not reporting their cases because of the victim blaming and all of the
just the fear of what the people
re-traumatizing that comes with it.
Right. And that will bring me to my next question about the challenges you went through. Like you said, the family is always asking a lot of questions, and just the fact that they have a, you know, status in the community, they're always like, this is going to be a shame for our name, for our community, for our family. And you went through all that odds just to, you know, go through with your case. So how did it end up, and what were some of the challenges you went through as a sister of the survivor?
Thank you again. So as the sister of the survivor, the challenges that we went through, like me and my sister, so not just our family, but like even like with the police, for example, like sometimes like you cannot even trust the police that are in charge of your case, like the prosecutors in charge of your case. They can come to you, like with our case, we had an instant where as our prosecutor has to come to us and ask us to say like something like, can you guys just say an amount whereas the culprit can pay that, and because the culprit have never had a crime case before, so he may not be punished for this. And for you to hear that from somebody that you think is supposed to support you, and you going home with that thought, it kills you, and you feel like you will never have the justice that you wanted. So that was one of the problems we faced, not only our family not supporting us and the society, but that was one of the problems we have faced.
All right, thank you. I think we will have to go for a short break, and when we come back, we will discuss more about the culture of rape in the Gambia. But I just want to end with this quote, especially to all the survivors, that they are powerful, not because they were not scared, but because they went through this challenge and they came out so strongly. And so when we come back, we will discuss more. Don't go away.
Hello, my name is Adam Masuso. I'm a Starfish student, and I'm going to recite a poem entitled The Pain. I give the smiles because mother says I am a woman. When I'm hot, she says to endure. When I'm frustrated, she says to persevere. And when I'm wounded, she says to cry in silence. And because I am a woman, I have to not feel human. Left with a why without an answer. Left with a scar that no one can ever heal. He raped me. Not once, twice, but countless times. That night, my pillow became my comforter, my bed became the carrier of my sorrow, and the pitch blackness of the room absorbed my silence. Why? Why does it have to be me that is raped? Why wouldn't mother and anyone else understand that I tried to scream, to kick, and to run, but I got raped, and that's my story? The story continues to unfold as the beast that ruined my dreams planted a seed in my very own soul. He left me with not only scars, but his blood typed in my womb. Again, left with a why without an answer, left with a child that I can't abandon, and now to the wall of humanity, tell me how I can forget this sorrow, this trauma, this shame, this disgrace, when the seed of sin will always be in my life. At 16, I put to bed labor pain. I tried so much to cry because it hurts. I was cut at birth and cut while giving birth. If only they knew that cutting me will never purify me. If only they knew how much their blades have cost me. Maybe they will not have done that. Hours later, moments later, I made it in my tender arms, a tender life to be in this tender world. That day and time, I remembered what mother used to tell me. To never cry but to always try, to never fall and stay down, to never give up and to always be myself. I have become a teenage mother, but not a teenage failure. I have been raped, but not murdered. And now to the wall of humanity and to my sisters. No matter how hard it gets at night, the day will fall and the flowers will blossom. So, what is stopping you from soaring like a bird? Be your own sunshine, find your own happiness, for we run the world. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back everyone to the Starfish podcast. If you are listening, we are having an elevated conversation about the culture of rape in the Gambia. And with me is Miss Sadie Ken and Miss Jeng, who are both very much active in the fight against rape in the Gambia. And so I'm glad that I have them both here to talk about their experiences as well as their thoughts on this issue of discussion. So moving right along, another phase of this conversation is really the role of men. You know, for centuries, when we talk about the issues of rape, we are always, adding more information as to what women can do to protect themselves from rape, which is a good thing. But thankfully now we are having a discussion about what men can do. And this is going to bring me to my next question of, let's please explore ways in which men can take responsibility in this situation. What can men do? Ms. Jeng, what would you say men can do to also add to this fight?
I think men can do quite a lot. Yeah. First thing is to use your privilege. We know men are very, very privileged, and it's their privilege that has led to a lot of perpetrators being, set free or not being held accountable for the things that they do. So for one thing, you could use your privilege to advocate for the rights of women and girls, for victims and survivors of abuse and rape. Other than that, I mean, you could donate to a cause of people that are working towards women's issues. So whether it's Starfish, Equals Now, Think Young Women, you name it. There's a lot of organizations that are doing the work that need funding. You could contribute towards that aspect. But also just holding your fellow men accountable is very important.
Right.
Because what we've seen, the phenomenon is a guy does something and then a lot of men come and support this man.
Even
and they'll
if
say,
he's wrong.
yes, oh, this is a man who's very, very religious. This is a man who's known in society.
Right.
And they make up all of these excuses. I mean, there's a tendency for people to say that they're, defending them so that when they are called out, so other people will defend them. But no, they're just doing it because they can,
Right.
I'm a man and I can defend my fellow man and nothing's going to come out of it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, use your privilege and support women.
Yeah, all right, thank you. And just to add to that, I think what Starfish is doing when it comes to educating boys and girls together to make sure they both have an equal understanding of the topic and to also be each other's keeper, it's also very important. And also to add to that, when it comes to character development, I think I believe that character is also part of the solutions to the problem. To be able to learn virtues like honesty, truthfulness, all of these things will really help you to just stay away from people. Don't do something to harm other people. Instead, do things that will really make other people smile and happy around you. I think that is also very important. So shout out to Starfish and all the other organizations that are coming together to make this really a success. So coming to you again, Miss Sadie Khan, I know in your write-up you've discussed a lot of things about how you felt about it, the trauma you went through with the police, the community, and I think it's quite a lot. And again, I want to thank you for having the courage to come and talk about it, and also standing by your sister all through this situation. And so my next question is, let's talk more about just how you dealt with it personally. You know, what were the tools you used to fight this fight, and you know, what are some of the help you got, who was there to support you, and how did it go for you?
Okay, thank you again, Mariama. Personally, for me, it was traumatizing, and I cannot tell how much it will be for my sister. But for the fact that we have support of people like Starfish, and like I have a personal mentor at Starfish. She's Fat Y, and she has been always like guiding me and my family. She's been supporting us. She comes to the court with us, went to the hospital with us, make sure that we have we are on the right track, that we are not even fighting with people, even when the society was fighting us, even when we had to face some people fighting us physically. She was there to say, don't fight, do this, do that. And she was just that guiding. And for the fact that we have Starfish as a home, whereas me and my sister can go there and talk and be healed, like that had really helped us. I think that it's one of the way we deal with our problem, because if we haven't had people who talk to us and tell us that they believe us, we wouldn't have gotten this far, and we wouldn't have get the justice we deserve. Right. So having people believing in us and giving us the courage, telling us that they believe in us and being there for us, that's how we deal with our situation.
Right. Thank you. A follow-up question will be, what do you wish was done differently with the case?
So for the fact that it took us 10 months before we could have our justice, I wish that could be different. I wish we had it like sooner than that. I wish that the man, even though we know that we got justice and the culprit was sentenced to 20 years, I wish the punishment was bigger than that. Like seriously, I always said, I think like if, for instance, he has life in prison, because this is an example. It has set an example to others who are thinking of doing this act. It will set an example that, okay, if I do this, I'm going for life imprisonment. I'm not just going for 20 years. And that will scare them, and that will make the thing like rape to reduce in our society.
Yeah, especially because it's trending.
Yeah, right now,
viral.
it's like the order of the day.
Yeah. And I think I had the privilege to be in the courtroom the day the judge was giving the verdict. And really, I was very nervous. And I could tell what you and your sister were going through at that point. And I'm also glad that the judge, even though the prosecutor was like, let's just ask for money, the judge was like, no, this is something that needs to end now. And he did just that. So really, thank you, Mr. Peter Adoche, for that. Even though it's his role and job to do, but really having people who are likely-minded when it comes to these issues and situations will make us go a long way. So coming to you, Ms. Jeng, this time, since we are talking about the judgment and verdict that the judge gave, we will ask you about what you think about the role of the legal field when it comes to these issues. Even though they are the ones in the courtrooms, what are other things the legal field and the legal system can do to make a stop to this?
I think as legal practitioners, judges, magistrates, everything that falls in between the practice, what we should be doing is a lot of advocacy and awareness in our communities. That's why you have organizations like the Gambia Bar Association and FLAG, which is the Female Lawyers Association of the Gambia. I think there's a need to step up and raise awareness, and also to advocate in court, which is like one of our primary rules. And for the judiciary, I think it's just handing down judgments that are just and equitable. I mean, you're a judge because we think you're very wise and you have, sound reasoning. But also sometimes you can't really blame them because of the case that they are presented with. So it's a very, very tricky relationship between what is brought to the court and how a judge can react to that.
Yeah. Right. Thank you for making that clear. We're going for another short entertainment break, and when we come back, we will discuss more about this topic. Don't go away.
Simba me musolema kuyate musolema na dunia bundalu itole bota mbemba da mabala moja mani moja malto nyi musolla mu dunia bundalte alinga kata kamusolu bunyake horama katunko itolen tolinati nyi dunia kono Simba be musolema kuyete kabala musolema na dunia bundalu.
Okay, it's the Starfish podcast, DayGo, and we are having a conversation about the culture of rape in the Gambia. And we are going to be discussing really the solutions to end rape in the Gambia. We know that is such a bold step to do, just to end rape, but there are a lot of things we can do as people, as community, and as society to really put a stop to rape in the Gambia, even though it's becoming too much. So my next question to my guest speakers is what they think is an effective way to really bring about the solutions and changes to rape.
I think for me, the effective solution would be, like I said, advocacy, awareness, but also education and enlightenment of the people. This is not a problem just for women or a problem just for men, it's everyone's problem. We should all just take it up and basically educate ourselves, make sure that we are aware of what the situation is and try to end it. Let us not play a role in making the situation worse for anyone. If we're not making it better, let's just, be quiet and stay in a corner.
Right. So everyone should definitely just do something.
Yes, do something positive, not just something.
Yeah,
do something positive.
To make
if it's not positive, just stay in your
aside
corner.
and let people that are ready to be positive do their thing. All right, thank you. I think that makes sense. Coming to you, Ms. Sedika, what would you say should be the effective ways to solve this issue?
Like she said, enlightening, educating them. I think people should be educated, and people about rape. People should know, when it's okay to even do something, like even talking to someone, if it is even okay, to say hi to that person. Sometimes, because when people think about rape, they just think about the sexual part of it. They don't think about the verbal part of it. So rape can be anything. So for me, it can be in any way. So people should be educated, they should be enlightened about it, they should support each other, especially men, they should always support us, we need their support. And like you said before, character development, people should really
invest in their growth.
Yes, people shouldn't, growing up, if you went through this character development classes or lessons or stuff, truthfulness, honesty, generosity and all that, you tend to see the things, and you see your sisters as your keepers, and you see every girl around you as your sister, and then it's easier
protect them instead of harm them. Right,
you will be protecting them instead of harming them. Seriously.
Definitely. So education, character development, a lot of advocacy,
dismantling the patriarchy. Let me just add that.
Yeah,
dismantle it, disrupt everything in the most radical ways. Because what we've seen is women for time immemorial have been doing, please let's change, please let's change, and it hasn't worked. So now that we are being a bit more aggressive, they're saying these women are aggressive. You know what? At least now you are responding to us. We're getting something from you. So dismantle and disrupt whenever you can.
Yeah. So definitely the education, the enlightenment, the advocacy, all of this has to go with a lot of courtesy, but of course it has to be hard. People have to hear us. I think it's time that the men and even the culture, because usually when men do this act, they blame it on the culture. And I always ask, who is the culture? The culture is the people living in it. So we all form the culture. The culture is our habit, is our patterns of behavior. So changing that will really go a long way in making a difference to the rape issues. And coming to my final question, and I want both of you to send a powerful message from young people to the culture about rape. What will be your powerful message?
I would say the culture of silence have ended. people should now speak up. All the young people out there, I'm encouraging everyone to speak up. When you speak up, you will not be alone. There are associations that can help you. There is Starfish. Call 1330. Anyone, just speak up. If you're not comfortable, you will never be alone. And we need more people like the judge that deal with our cases. They are there for you. They are going to make sure that you get the justice that you deserve.
All right, thank you. I think that's powerful for anyone who is listening. Thank you, Ms. Sedika. Ms. Ngenar, what will be your final powerful message to the culture about rape?
My final powerful message would be, just be there for women. Be there for girls. Make sure that they're supported. Do not neglect, abandon, abuse, violate, whichever one that it is. And again, not just because, they're your sisters or whatever, or that you're related, excuse me, but rather because they're human beings and they deserve to live a life where they are not, in fear or being violated just because they're women.
All right, thank you. I think that is also powerful enough to whoever is listening to this podcast and actually have the intention to really learn from it and grow and develop themselves spiritually and materially. And so I'm glad that for this episode we are able to touch on the personal experiences of the guest speakers. We also dealt with the realities of the youth in the Gambia, the role of men, the role of the legal experts, and also the solutions to rape in the Gambia. And for that, I just want to end with a quotation. This is really directed to all the survivors out there. And I want to say, you are not a victim for sharing your story. You are a survivor who is setting the world on fire with your truth. And you never know who needs your light, your warmth, and raging courage to go through this fight. And so this has been a very fruitful conversation. And we want to send a big thank you to the guests who are here today, and also to the Media House and the Starfish family. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Until we see you again for the next episode, it's a bye from Starfish.